But there's actually reports of hit squads that are in the United States. Listening to Sean Foyt today, saying that there are hit squads that are tasked with taking out Trump. Well, I guess if you have open borders, you could have anybody coming through, from cartels to Iranians to, and far better to have a foreigner than, someone who's a card-carrying, act blue, contributing Democrat try to shoot at Trump. So I'll tell you, this is a time when we're going to cover the news. We're going to give you in fact, as articles are saying, Democrats grooming assassins to take out Trump. How do we tap down the rhetoric? And yet, how do we stay steely-eyed and focused on what's really happening in America? I'll tell you something. A lot of people are going to be fasting and praying. And because of that, I want you to take a look at something which is couldn't be better timing. It's Dr. Jordan Rubin has been talking to me about his regenerative, organic, certified fruits and vegetables. Just think about this. 16 organic certified fruits packed into these little capsules. 23 regenerative organic veggies packed in. And what makes these fruits and vegetables with these little pills for you people that fast and are really focusing and spiritually on the next 30-day, 40-day battle over the destiny of America and your children. Think about this. It's the soil, the nutrient-rich soil that Dr. Jordan Rubin and his team have created, which is the distinction. I see all these commercials about fruits and veggies, but you know what? It's the soil they're in has a large factor to do with what kind of enzymes and probiotics are getting into your body. That's why I stay focused on Jordan Rubin. AncientNutrition.com/Lance. Just use the super code, the Lance Superfood. That's the code. Use code Lance Superfood, AncientNutrition.com/Lance. Lance Superfood is the code. I never sell anything I myself don't use. This is powerful. You're going to feel the difference immediately. Let's get into today's show. Well, the big story that is breaking out that you haven't heard is that the government is now admitting that there are potential multiple hit squads going after Trump through the border, illegals. You know, the danger of these two assassination attempts that have happened on Trump is, as Dan Bongino and others have pointed out, is that professional assassins would never make the mistakes that the amateurs have made. For instance, not that you want to educate every would-be assassin, but the guy at the golf course stuck his rifle through the fence so that barrel was there, and an astute one guy happened to have seen the object that didn't fit in with the rest of the tree line. Now, the professional snipers say, well, you get the wire cutters and you cut a hole through the fence and you remove the bushes so that someone looking for a line of sight doesn't see anything. You're behind the fence aiming 6 inches further back, and you've got a line of sight. So this has inspired those that know how to do this to say, oh my gosh, look how easy it is to get at Trump. Now, I heard Sean Foyt today do an urgent little video prayer call, desperately saying, my gosh, the government is saying that there are 5 hit squads that are loose here through the borders. Well, we don't know who's coming through, obviously. When you got millions coming through, cartels could have people going through. They don't want Trump there because Trump disrupts business. Iran can imagine how frustrated they are with what Israel's doing with them, the drumming they're going through in Gaza and in Lebanon. And let's just say that I am particularly stirred up when headlines like this and the Federalist, this one really got me, how Democrats are grooming assassins to take out Trump. It's only 2 hours after last week's attempt on Trump in Florida that knucklehead Hakeem Jeffries decided to use that moment to ratchet up the firepower of the perverse left by referring to extreme MAGA Republicans, saying we must stop them. Now, I don't know if I was Hakeem Jeffries, and I really believed that there are extreme MAGA Republicans, well, I don't think I'd be stirring them up like that. I don't think they believe it. I think they're just trying to gin up their own base. Because honestly, if you have extreme MAGA Republicans out there, then aren't you worried about them? Don't you think theoretically we should have our share of nut jobs out there? By the way, they're not looking at Trump. So I think it would be wise to just lower the temperature there. That's why I call them a nut job. Leftists have openly engaged in direct assassination fantasies for years. I don't have to remind you. Forget about Madonna, where they're wanting to blow up the White House with remember the pink hat protest when Trump came in? But Kathy Griffin holding up the severed head. I think things have dialed down since the New York Central Park's assassination of Caesar Trump. They did in the park. I'm not trying to stir you up, folks. I'm just saying that I'll never forget Biden's red wall. I couldn't believe that he didn't get just trounced in the midterms after that. I don't know what's the matter with my side. Just so passive so often. 2022, after concluding Trump's popularity meant Democrats could only defeat him outside the normal arenas of political debate, Biden made his famous red wall speech, wasn't that in Philadelphia, where he referred to MAGA Republicans undermining democracy. Well, do you understand what they mean by the left? When they talk about undermining democracy, this whole thing about undermining. See, to them, democracy is the elite's institutional capture of all the agencies, three-letter agencies, the National Education Association, overall education. So undermining democracy is undermining their top-down control over the country, maintaining it in the leftist way that they do right now. And in fact, we would look at, we're undermining the destruction of democracy by putting in a genuine representation of the will of the people. And the only way that happens is through a fair election, a free election. What do you think you're going to do if you take out Trump and you got 80 to 90 million people who wanted him to represent them? Is that protecting America from a threat? Or is that the threat right there, these people that want to take out Trump? They're assembling an assassin pipeline, according to the article in The Federalist by Monty Klaus, PhD, clinical psychologist, somebody that understands a little bit about this. Well, I'm praying, obviously, and you are too. I was, by the way, I was at a meeting this weekend where two men told me, these are businessmen, told me their wives pray for Trump, and both of them were seized with an almost supernatural angst, anxiety, and concern for Trump's welfare. One of them that went to pray at that moment at the golf course where the rifle was exposed. The other one had been seized by this abdominal, guttural urgency to get alone and cry out to God for Trump's safety right as he was shot at Butler. These things are real, folks. I mean, people don't know what to do with prayer, but folks that know how to pray, not just religious, weird prayers, but actually people that are experienced in this, that's two right there. They were both businessmen with substantial businesses kind of confiding to me at the same coffee table. Hey, man, isn't it strange? Both our wives picked up on something for Trump. So this is a spiritual battle, whether people realize it or not. Now, the situation with this latest would-be assassin, the thing that's really irritating people is the Department of Justice releasing his letter. You know, I tried my best. I gave it all the gumption I could muster. It's up to you now to finish the job. Now, you wonder, why wasn't the manifesto by the trans shooter that killed all those Christians in that Christian school and the teachers in Tennessee, why did that manifesto never get published? But the Department of Justice, within 24 hours, wants to release, it's up to you now to finish the job, and I'll offer $150,000 to whoever can complete the job. The question about this shooter, where did he get the money to go to Ukraine? And how did he live in this $500,000, estate or condo down in Hawaii? And who's going to give him this $150,000 to complete the job? How did he actually find out what Trump's personal golfing schedule was? See, this is what makes conspiracy theorists wonder if it's the CIA or the FBI offering $150,000 to whoever can complete the job. You see, that's what they're saying. That's the unspoken part of what goes on in people's minds. But this guy, Ryan Ruth, was arrested. And what was he doing there for like 8 or 9 hours? How do you park yourself outside of a prestigious golf course? And I mean, don't you even have normal police going around and seeing if you got, people living at the golf course next door to it? Well, there's all kinds of questions, no doubt, intelligent people have. I'm here to ask them, what will be the solution? I will tell you what the solution is. Trump has to win by a decisive margin. He has to win by a decisive margin because of what I'm going to show you now. Quick, play Dinesh D'Souza's video.
Now we turn to the tens of millions of illegals the Biden-Harris administration has let into the country. What's their motive?
You claim that Democrats, President Biden's immigration plan to open up the border, you said that the president is getting, and Democrats are doing it to get more votes. But undocumented immigrants cannot vote in federal elections, so how is that possible?
Welcome to the office of the Minnesota Secretary of State's Elections Division.
Hello, elections. How may I help you?
Yeah, hi. I was calling to see how the vouching works during the election.
Okay. So when people register to vote, they need to have a proof of residence. And so vouching is one option, and that's where someone that is registered can vouch for someone else that lives in their same precinct. So basically, they'd be saying, I know this person and that they live at this address.
Or how many can we vouch for, actually?
Yeah, so one voter can vouch for up to 8.
Like, they don't have any ID or anything like that. We can at least vouch for them so they can at least register and vote.
Yeah, that's the case where I think it's used most often is if people don't have an ID.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. Thank you.
So if your relatives were to come here from India during voting season, we just go to Minnesota and all 8 of them can vote.
Well, that should reassure many of you that this will be an election that better not be close. Because if this comes down to, well, they're counting 30 ballots in Minnesota and 120 in Michigan, and Pennsylvania is shut down till 8 a.m. We just got a boatload of 3,000 new votes from Philadelphia. Well, if one person can sign up 8 illegals, then I suppose 4 or 5 people can sign up, 64 or 52 or so. Or maybe one person could keep lying about what their residence is and just, make believe there's someone else. You get my point? It's not like we aren't aware of what's happening. But be encouraged. We'll be right back after this break to tell you why I still think we're winning. Hey, I'm Lance Wallnau, and I'm coming to Pennsylvania. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania. It's the swing state of swing states. We're going to be having the Courage Tour. Go to thecouragetour.com to make sure you get your seat reserved for free September 27th and 28th. Lou Engle, Jonathan Shuttlesworth, Gene Bailey, Rick Green. It's going to be amazing, and you don't want to miss it. Thecouragetour.com, September 27th and 28th. Get your free ticket right now. Well, it takes a certain amount of fortitude to be able to deal with the polling that goes from one extreme to another. I mean, America's divided state has never been more conspicuous than in its media, which cannot be trusted. The problem is, what happens when media is giving you polling information that's what you want to hear? Then you don't know if you can trust it. New York Times, voters across the Sun Belt say that Donald Trump improved their lives when he was president. They worry that Kamala Harris' White House would not, setting the stage for an extraordinarily competitive contest in 3 key states. According to the latest New York Times, which isn't favorable at all to Republicans, and Siena College, the polls found Mr. Trump's gained a lead in Arizona, remains ahead in Georgia, 2 states that he lost to Biden, supposedly, in 2020. But in North Carolina, which has not voted for a Democrat since 2008, Mrs. Harris trails Trump by a narrow margin. Just the news, in Georgia, he now leads the Harris campaign 49 to 45. In Georgia, Arizona, it's 50 to 45. Trump leads. North Carolina, in 2020, is now slightly increased his lead over Harris in that state, 49 to 47. Let's take a look at cut 3 on Robert Cahaly on Glenn Beck.
Robert, where does this election look to you where it is going? Is it going to be as razor thin as everybody thinks?
It is very razor thin, and even in the most recent round of polling that we did, that I'm going to give you a couple caveats on that. The most recent round of polling that we did, and Matt Towery and I have been dividing up the states and doing the 7 battleground states. His firm does half, and Matt's my co-host with the Polling Plus podcast once a week. Check us out. We talk about everything polling and kind of fill people in on where we are. But we divided up the states, and in every one, Trump has a very small edge, other than Nevada, which we had him a little behind. Now, first thing to remember, most of these polls started right after the debate or a couple of days after the debate. And the only 2 that finished on the Sunday of the second assassination attempt, those 2 were Pennsylvania and Georgia. And both of those, if that poll had finished, either one of our polls had finished on Saturday, he would have been losing. But that he upticked so much that it bounced the whole poll forward. And so what I will tell you is, when you look at these polls, look at the dates, and the ones that are really long, like 4 or 5 days that started after the debate, have the biggest margins, and the ones that completed more after Sunday afternoon, you see a strength. We don't know exactly how strong that is going to be, but the second attempt was just really galvanizing and just a line in the sand too far. Now, the other thing to remember is some of these polls don't actually poll voters. They use online panels for some or all of this now. Jeez. Now, online panels are made
all right,
people
stop it there. Ian,
stop it.
Stop it there. So here's the interpretation of all that. Trump was losing in some of the battleground states. These are within like a 2-point margin here. And the assassination attempt evidently took a certain number of Democrats that could vote Republican and a certain number of undecideds and said, all right, that's it. And they just pushed over. Now, whether they stay there, we don't know. But here's the interesting thing, that 1 or 2% push is what's reflected in these New York Times and Siena College polls. Now, the part that I want to communicate real clear is that the strategy of Harris and the left is to stay light on anything specific and do the Obama strategy. Let people right on to Kamala whatever it is they want to see on her, like they did with Obama. The problem is she has information that doesn't leave her out there as an unknown. So the closer she comes under scrutiny, the more pressure there is to clarify positions. The only stuff that is clear is her undisputed radical Marxist commentary, from defunding the police to not fracking, to this particular video that just surfaced, where she's chanting, evidently, down with deportations, which is basically the supporting of the open border policy. Let's play that video too so people can catch this and tell me what you hear.
Down with deportation, up with education, 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 down with deportation.
Okay, I got it. Now here's the mystery. Laughing because this is classic Leviathan, Prince of Demons we work with. So the conservative websites have them chanting down with deportation. We get that. Keep all the illegals in here. And then up with, is it education or agitation? If it's conservative, they're saying they're all crying. And I listen to the people in the background side, they're saying up with agitation. Down with the deportation, up with agitation. Although I don't know what the benefit would be for saying up with education, down with deportation. But the Democrats are saying, oh, no, we're not talking about agitating, we're talking about educating. And the Republicans are saying, she's saying up with agitation. But it doesn't matter. You could see she's waving the pom-poms for the rioters, the leftists, and the city burners. How do we know that? Well, because she's already on. I can't believe nobody's found that footage yet that I keep talking about with late night comedians talking about how during the riots, how she was laughing and believing they're never going to end because, we need the rioting to keep going. And then she was raising funds to bail out rioters. So if she can get elected because Taylor Swift got 125,000 Swifties to vote or illegals are voting, or just even if America can have that close an election, let me tell you something. You know whose commentary bothers me the most? It's Bill Maher. I'm tired of us being so desperate for somebody to have clarity that we keep going to Bill Maher. I'm fed up with Bill Maher. I don't want to see him. I'm not going to quote him anymore. I'm not going to throw him he's not going to throw us a bone anymore. I can't help it if Fox keeps quoting him. But here's what he says. He knew Biden and Harris were going to lose. He's so happy that Harris is in. His theory is he just feels like Trump is going to lose because people are tired of him. They have done such an effective job. Him, the news media, and a whole lot of knucklehead evangelical preachers have done such a grinding down job on Donald Trump with their books that they're making money off of while they're trumpeting prayer and revival. He's basically saying America's tired. And I wonder about this. Could the left succeed in so fatiguing the country on Donald Trump with the court cases, the trials, any lie like Kamala Harris got away with 7 lies she told without fact-checking? If America can be propagandized into not thinking clearly about, do you want an open border? Do you want a crashed economy? Do you want a third world war? If we're that stupid that we vote for that, then all I could say is my whole thinking on my role in the future is basically this is what you asked for. I'll be really unpopular. I'm going to say this is what you wanted. And so now you've got it. And I'm not going to be distressed over it either. I'm going to say, God is answering prayer in a way that we don't know. Sometimes the prodigal has to really go into the pigsty before they come to their senses. And America just maybe is so insulated from pain that it doesn't realize the consequences of its own choices are leading to its own destruction. But I am not yet sold on the fact that Bill Maher is right. But he's saying America's tired of Trump. They've done a good job of fatiguing us, so they just want a new face. They just want her cackling laugh and her hairdo. And they're not following closely. They're just voting on vibes. Along those lines, you got James Carville here, who, I'm always interested in him because he was very clear that he didn't think Biden could win. But then he says this, which is an interesting statement. He says, I don't like to predict elections. I would just say this doesn't feel like a race that Harris is going to lose. He added, it's just a feeling. It's close in the polls, and I'm not convinced it's going to be close on Election Day. His thinking is the feeling, the vibe, the Hollywood, the influencers, the toxic gaslighting, the power of corporate news media, the bombardment, that maybe 48% of Americans are educated and aware of what's going on, but they've got 52% that don't know what the heck's happening, and maybe with some illegals to fill it in, they can comfortably swing this election. But that's a good reason for you to say, well, what can I do? And that's why I want you to always remember, go to the Courage Tour, thecouragetour.com, because we are rapidly moving to the point where only a few votes and a few active patriots is going to be the tipping point in 7 key states and 19 counties, and we're right there in the middle of it. So go to thecouragetour.com and keep in touch with me. And but I am optimistic. I'm giving you all the facts because I never pull any punches. But this is, I believe, the mercy of God intervening for America. And I do not believe that the people are going to fail the test. I think that they recognize this is not business as usual, and Harris is not a blank canvas to paint on. And the more we hear and the more we see in the next 30 days or so, I think the more decisive that turnout's going to be. And I think Carville might be surprised that it's not going to be as close as he thinks. It might not be in the direction he's anticipating. We'll see you again tomorrow.
We're entering a period of time that has increased hostility against people of faith. It's a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral, physical, psychological, and even a financial basis. I'm here to remind you that God is the one who has blessed you thus far, and He will take care of you in the future. You have a divine responsibility, however, to see trouble and prepare yourself. For example, with record inflation eating away at the value of the U.S. dollar, the savings in your retirement account is in danger of slipping away. I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now that includes no penalties, there's no taxes when you transfer current retirement funds into Birch Gold. To see how it works, I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and get your free info kit, and you'll be glad that you did.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.